he's in charge.
Yes, we're talking about Deflategate, guys. You were just tuning on live. Just real quick, Kevin thinks that Belichick should be just suspended.
I agree. He's blaming Brady right now, and for Belichick to sort of say he's unaware of these other things, he's a control freak. He knows everything that's going on every minute. What he said was basically like, I believed him as much as I believed Richard Nixon back in the day. Let's put it that way.
I am not a crook.
The interesting thing to me was the discussion that he had about that, now they should overinflate them, so if they lose, some air, then they would still be standard. It's like he'd given some thought to this.
That's not a good way out. It's not a good way out there.
I heard a radio interview, and they had some, professor on there, and basically he was saying, well, it's possible that they inflated the footballs inside in a room, like in a regular room with a 70-degree temperature, and then they
like
took it out.
This is the first time this has ever happened. This is the first. This never occurred before. Never
took it out into the cold. Took it out into the cold New England temperatures, and the PSI and the footballs went down because of the cold, and it was just a natural occurrence. There was no chicanery or anything like that. But the problem was that they weighed and they checked the pressure of the balls 2.5 hours before the game, and then magically between the 2.5 hours before the game and the game starting, they lost the pressure. So unless they stuck them out and put them in a freezer or something, then it doesn't make any sense. All I know is this: I equate this with a penalty for the curve of a stick being too much. I mean, because it's Belichick and because it's 2 weeks in between the Super Bowl, this is going to become a media storm, and I bet you anything in the end of it, they'll get a fine of $1 million, which is tip money for Bob Kraft and tip money for Bill Belichick.
See, and that's the big point. Belichick was willing to say, "Hey, I'll let the NFL do whatever they want to do," because he knew whatever the NFL threw at him, he didn't care. He got to the Super Bowl. The Ravens game might be in contention because Josh Brown, the kicker, said, "Hey, that ball was soft," and he didn't make a kick in that game, and it made a difference. They lost a close game. Everybody's focusing on the Colts game the other day, but there was the Colts game during the season, and how do we know after the Chiefs game that he didn't start doing this every week and they went on that winning streak when a lot of people called him dead? I believe nothing this man says. Zero.
I don't know about that, but you can't replay the games. I mean, we all know that. I mean, that's just not realistic. So that's why I think the suspension of Belichick is what should be the punishment, because that's a fairly substantial penalty. If he's the mastermind of this program, and I think it should be a suspension where he can't be anywhere near the team, he can't be in contact with them. He's out for the Super Bowl.
So that's what you think should happen. What do you think will happen?
I think what will happen is there'll be a fine.
I agree. I think it'll be $1 million fine, and Roger Goodell will read him the Riot Act, which I'm sure will be very convincing for most people with Roger Goodell.
And the other people who are really have to be called into question here is now the officials, because they check the balls. I mean, we've all now seen the photos of the ref squeezing the ball as he carried it in. Well, they had to know something was wrong.
See, what I'm shocked at, Kevin, is the fact that, and you covered baseball, is the fact that in baseball the balls are controlled by the umpires, by officials,
right. As hockey pucks are.
Hockey pucks are. They're and in the NFL, the teams are providing the balls. I mean, again,
Peyton Manning. It's kind of like baseball, where they would juice the balls up. A couple of years ago, we'd hear about teams had been juicing the balls. Well,
it's because this is a job for MythBusters if I've ever seen one.
I put something out to them on Twitter yesterday. Hopefully they answer it, because I asked them, find out what it matters: throwing an underinflated ball, kicking an underinflated ball, using it in the rain, and when you go to make an interception on it, because those are the issues.
Nice.
Well, I thought what I think Josh is talking about. I know that Colorado puts the the baseballs that they have in a humidor because of the altitude conditions in Colorado. And because, if they use the ball regularly like any other team because of the altitude, I mean, home runs were disproportionate in Colorado.
They should control that altitude better, man. That's the issue. I mean, that altitude, they should just lower the field to regulation sea level.
Yeah, just dig a 5,000-foot trench into a mountain and put the stadium right there. There you go, Ak.
The fact that they're allowed to play at their natural altitude is insane.
The one thing, though, that does, you got to bring some perspective to this, too. I've seen people, just the craziness of people calling for the games to be replayed and all that kind of stuff. And, I understand people being upset by this. But, it's almost like we forget that on every NFL play, there's holding. It's to a degree, there's cheating on every play. And it's to what degree and how the official's feeling on that day. Like, we complain all the time about NHL officiating, but I've covered a lot of NFL games in my career. I've probably covered over 100 NFL games, and we used to at USA Today. It was always all hands on deck for the NFL. I would do a lot of games in Minnesota and down to Miami often, and a lot of games in Detroit. And I was always amused that on every play you could find holding, and sometimes it would be called and sometimes it wouldn't, and yet the NHL officials were the ones that always were accused of, having differing standards. But in all sports, there's differing standards depending on who's doing the call. So
nothing has it like the NFL, like that, and nothing has the holding thing is absolutely right. Like that can turn a 40-yard gain into a 2nd down and 20, immediately, and then pass interference is another one. The NFL has these two rules that are very, very, debatable that just turn games around in a second. The NFL.
Well, here's the thing, and Kevin and I grew up with this. To me, you should have to be in the end zone with the ball for a touchdown. If I could reach over the goal line with just the tip of the ball and get a touchdown, then how come I have to hold the ball for like a certain amount of time and make a move in the end zone to get a touchdown when I've already could score a touchdown easier the other way?
Right? Yeah, I'm with Russ on that.
Yeah, ideally, that's the case. Ideally, the Dallas Cowboys should have been playing in Seattle instead of Green Bay because of the Dez Bryant. Because I think that was a catch, and based on my eyes, I think it was a catch because of the rules. It's something. What the heck is that?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Hello. Whose ringer is that? Wow.
That was Josh's. Mute Josh.
Muting Josh.
As long as we're on the NFL, and then we should talk about hockey, but I wanted to float this out to you, learned gentlemen. A rule that I've thought about for a very, very long time that would make the NFL, in my opinion, a better game and a much safer game for the participants.
Okay.
All right, whose phone is that now?
I don't know. That was The Exorcist.
That really was.
Somebody should turn their volume down on their phone for Christ's
Sorry.
I would put a weight limit on NFL players at 300 pounds.
Whoa.
I like that.
There is no reason for any of the players to be more than 300 pounds. I think the NFL becomes a much better game. It becomes less about weight. I think it's safer for the players.
Yeah.
And we know from wrestling and like the guys can lose weight safely and get down under that. I don't think there's any reason. Even a guy at 6'9", there's really no reason for him to be over 300 pounds.
First of all, the ACLU would probably sue for weight discrimination. Second of all, I mean, I think it's funny that a guy like Mark Schlereth, who's a commentator for ESPN, I think he still is, when he played offensive line for the Denver Broncos, he weighed about 280, 290, around there. He's now about 175 pounds.
Yeah.
Something is wrong when a player, it wasn't that he was fat. It was that, and I can't prove anything, but these guys take a lot of supplements that boost their weight.
Oh, let's not go down that path.
Yeah, we don't even need to.
Yeah, no, I'm just talking about real live guys that are just carrying too much weight because that's become the thing. And there's really no reason for it. I'll tell one story, and this was years ago when I covered a kid in high school who was a top basketball player, and he was also a top, and this is in the early 80s, and a top football recruit. He's 6'7" and he weighed about 220 pounds, and he got a Division I full ride scholarship. He was going to be a tight end. He got on campus, and in the second week of September, I saw him back in town. I was in Port Huron, Michigan. I said, "What are you doing back?" And he said, "In my first week there, they watched me play tight end, and they converted me to a offensive tackle." And he said, "Don't worry, we'll have you up to 300 pounds in no time." And he said, "I don't want to be 300 pounds in no time or any time." And he quit. He walked away because he didn't want to gain all that weight. And and that was in the early 80s. And now it's gotten much worse. Yeah. There are a lot of high school players who are over 300 pounds because they feel like they need that in order to get full ride scholarships. So I think there should be a weight limit, and I think if you're the Players Association, you should be supportive of that because I think it's a safety thing as well.
Yeah. Healthier. I mean, the life expectancy of an NFL player is a lot less.
Hey,
all right, let's begin.
Back to hockey. Did you see?
Let's start the show first, Josh.
Oh no, go ahead, Josh. Go first. You go first, Josh. Go ahead.
Daniel Negreanu joined the group in Las Vegas for the hockey team.
Right.
He's not part of the ownership, though.
He's not. He's one of the founding 75. I did a big story on Las Vegas this week. So.
Oh, okay.
And Mayweather is the boxer as well. He's in the founding 75.
Nice.
As well. And those guys, basically, what that means is they're going to be on the advisory board for the team. But in order to achieve that, I think it's either 60. You have to sell 60 season tickets. So Negreanu has to get his buddies to pony up.
Maybe Manny Pacquiao can win the spot on the advisory board when he beats Mayweather in May.
That well it could be.
Oh my goodness! All right, we're gonna start. It goes Mike, then Russ, then Kevin, then Josh. Ready? All hands on deck. You ready, Josh? Rush?
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Okay, good. Here we go. Smiles around. Hey, Hockey World! It's Thursday, January 22nd, 2015.
I'm Michael Agello.
Is that the wrong date?
No, you were just so slow and deliberate.
So uncounted. It's Michael Agello. Go ahead. Sorry.
Russ Cohen here.
Kevin Allen of USA Today Sports.
Josh Furman.
Sorry, speak up.
And I'm Macklin. And happy birthday, Kevin. It is Kevin's birthday.
Thank you.
Happy birthday, Kevin.
But the fact, I only know it's your birthday because of Facebook. That's the only reason that we know people's birthdays. So it still doesn't help me with the date. It's not like I know that January 22nd is Kevin Allen's birthday. I just get a message for the last 3 days that in 2 days is Kevin Allen's birthday. Tomorrow is Kevin Allen's birthday. Today is Kevin. So I'm convinced.
Yeah. Well, I had an editor years and years ago who, if you wrote that somebody celebrated their birthday, as he said, anybody over 30. They don't celebrate their birthday; they observe it. So I've always kept that in mind, and I don't celebrate my birthdays; I observe them. So
very nice, very nice. The NHL just announced you got this news. This news is coming off the wire here. The NHL announced that Malkin will miss the All-Star game. There you go.
Yep, that was part of my news.
I'm sorry, but that's okay. I apologize, Josh.
And actually, Eck, more to that since you brought it up.
Yes.
Apparently, Jim Rutherford told the Pittsburgh Tribune that it's probably an injury that's going to take a little time to heal. And when he was asked about Malkin's recovery time, if it would be measured in days or weeks, Rutherford said that it was too early to say, and the Penguins will know more on Monday, but for now the plan is for Malkin to rehab over the break, so it could be a long-term injury for the Penguins.
Well, sorry to steal a little more of your news, probably, Josh, but I was flipping through the channels last night, and Bobrovsky got hurt.
Really?
Playing in Winnipeg. And I know that they were discussing the fact that a lot of NHL teams, a lot of their players who didn't make the All-Star game are already have already left for their vacations. So it's a question of who they can find who's All-Star, who has stats that are All-Star level.
Fine, I'll do it. I'll do it if I have to.
Forward. I can play forward.
Yeah, but now you can't really punish the guys, right? If you're calling saying, "Hey, we need you to replace." Hey, sorry, I'm in the Bahamas right now. I can't make it. There's no way.
Yeah, there's no. Yeah, well, bless you.
I think now, Eck, didn't this injury for Malkin occur in the Flyers game? And then
I
he
didn't
tried
see
to
it.
skate last night and he couldn't go.
He couldn't
I
go.
did.
That's right. Russ is right on the money on that.
It did occur, but did you see it, Russ? I mean, I didn't see it.
I did see it, but then he came back out in the game in the third period. He was out for a long stretch, and then he came back for a little bit, maybe 1 or 2 shifts in the third period. I did notice him out there trying it out.
Okay, all right. I missed that one. I was not at the game due to a family issue, but yep, I was watching on television. But anyway, that's a shame. It's in Malkin's, but definitely a big draw, big celebrity in this hockey world. So you will not
Yeah, I'm sure they would like to get a Red Wings. The Red Wings don't have a representative, and the logical choice would be Tatar, but I know he is in Cancun. So yeah, Nyquist probably would be a choice. Yeah. So.
No, that's I mean, it's interesting. This is always an issue when the All-Star teams are announced. You always, how many of those? It's always like a 20% fallout rate. It feels like these days. Are
there any more Latvians in the league?
Yeah, let's bring the Latvians on since we're going to insult them and not let them be part of the World Cup of Hockey. We might as well let them play in the All-Star game.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, we'll get more of that. So before the show, we were speaking of overinflating footballs and. We're going to talk about the NHL All-Star uniforms. So I thought I would tie that all together with Miss Canada's last night, her cultural uniform in the Miss Universe pageant, which is definitely hockey related. So here we go. This is it. This is don't try this at home, kids, but this is what Miss Canada wore last night.
Is this a joke or is this real?
This is actually what she wore on stage during the Miss Universe pageant last evening. It's a shame we don't have Julie here as our pageant correspondent. But yeah, this is definitely this is an interesting costume.
If Joan Rivers were alive, she'd rip it to shreds.
Suddenly, I feel like I overinflated my tires yesterday.
She's like a Canadian superhero.
Yes, a Canadian superhero. That really is something. Yeah, this is for real, and yeah, that's all I can say about that. Nothing else to say, but. The bastard getting into elevators with that costume, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure she can't get into an elevator very easily, but that's what I thought I would.
I'm speechless.
Yeah. I don't know what my favorite part is, whether it's the Stanley Cup hat, the protruding sticks, or the laced up skates. I mean, you know how hard it is to lace your skates? Because I've been skating a lot lately. Lacing your skates is a big pain in the ass. Can you imagine lacing these skates? I mean, this is like, forget about it. Sorry.
Well, the bottom part of the dress looks like a goal, so
it does look like a goal. Yeah,
so,
I didn't realize that. I did not pick that up.
I don't think the elbow pads are regulation either, but oh well.
Yeah, they'll have to measure those up, and Chris King will have to rule on those. I agree.
Yeah, we all get top shelf.
The famous fan at the Joe Louis Arena, Mo Cheese, wore a Stanley Cup on his head as part of his shtick, and it didn't look like that.
No, not many people can pull that off. I mean, this was exactly what I would have worn, so I'm glad I didn't show up at the event. It would have been embarrassing.
You don't have the legs for it, Eck.
Yeah, I don't have the legs for it. No, but can I ever pull off wearing a hockey stick, a shield of hockey sticks on my back? I can pull that off like no one's business. So that's it. So we got now. We also had a stadium series announced or speculated upon. I guess not announced officially. Speculated upon. We finally have Detroit, Colorado, which everybody's been looking forward to. We talked about that. That was a good one. That's one of the speculations, and the other is Chicago, Minnesota. And then rumors are that Minnesota was supposed to be Minnesota, Dallas, but the Wild picked said we would have to be Chicago. So Detroit, Colorado, Kevin, you like this in Denver?
Oh yeah. I mean, the rivalry isn't what it once was. They're not even in the same conference anymore. But for the older generation, memories of the McCarty Lemieux confrontation and the Osgood fight. There's just so much history there, and of course, the Colorado Avalanche, were the measuring stick there for the Red Wings when they were trying to rise up. And there's been books. Adrian Data wrote a book about the rivalry as well, and what I liked about it is, Peter Forsberg said at one point during the rivalry that he would never, under any circumstances, consider playing for the Red Wings, and he had the opportunity to do that. They were interested in his services, and he maintained that position. He never would, play for the team. And I talked to Brendan Shanahan about that later on, telling him that story, and he said, I wouldn't have played for the Avalanche either. That's how deep that rivalry was.
That's great.
So, I think that's a good historic, rivalry, even though it sort of has faded now. But I think people know enough about the ugliness that went on in the 1990s that it's still probably.
What I do like about these three matchups for next year is it appears that the NHL is going more toward, they're taking into consideration the rivalry. Montreal, Boston, Detroit, Colorado, and Chicago, Minnesota. I mean, you definitely have three matchups that will not only be spectacles because they're outside, but also good games with heated confrontation because, they're rivals, and I like that.
Yeah, and I mean, there are some people who are saying, this is what I muted you, Josh, by the way, so we didn't hear you telling your dog to shut up. But it's in the so once you're done, come back. Anyway, no, but I agree. There are some people saying that these are the that the Stadium Series has become the bad ratings bad ratings Winter Classic games, but because I really kind of wanted to see Detroit Colorado as a Winter Classic game. I thought that would have been a good one.
I would agree with that. Yeah, for sure.
I think but they maybe it's this is one place where you got a good shot at snow. I mean, in Denver, you got a really good shot at snow, which is what everybody wants, right? We all want the snowy games, and this would have been good. But I guess you can. I think it's kind of a little bit telling. What it tells me is they've got something really interesting in store for the next Winter Classic, and that they're not good at that. They couldn't wait any longer for Detroit, Colorado, because otherwise, why not just wait till next year for Detroit, Colorado?
Based on what happened a couple nights ago, I wouldn't be surprised if it's the one that's been rumored for a while with the Penn State, Penn State Stadium in Pittsburgh and Philadelphia. I mean, that would be incredible.
Yeah, no, that would be something. That would be amazing.
One of the issues that's happened with this Winter Classic is that it's become so big and such a money source, a revenue generator, that the stadiums have become keenly aware of that, and they're trying to tap into that. Like, it's not easy. It wasn't easy to negotiate with the University of Michigan over securing the big house. They want big dollars because they know the NHL is going to rake it in. So that's become sort of an issue. That the NHL is trying to really hit a real big time home run, and the stadiums are trying to sort of inflate their take as well. So as time marches on, that could become even more of an issue.
Oh, I agree completely, and that's definitely where this is going. Minnesota, I know, has wanted one for a long time. As is St. Louis, I was kind of surprised that St. Louis didn't get a Stadium Series one. I guess that's coming too. That there's obviously doing one in Busch Stadium, I think would be fun. I think that would be a good one there to do it. They still play at Busch Memorial Stadium, don't they? Or am I totally wrong? Okay. Yeah, I mean, because you have a classic stadium there, and you might have a football team there soon. So anyway, we'll move on away from that in St. Louis. But yeah, I mean that's something I wanted to get into. Also, this so last night the FNUF slash on McCulloch, Mike.
Well, I mean,
this is an interesting play. I mean, this is like.
Well, there was a lot of stuff going on between both of them. I mean, there was a purported slew foot by.
Oh, there was. Check it out. So I've got the whole thing here. We can watch it. There's a lot that happens on this play. So this is just towards the end of it, but you'll see it again here as Russ is turning this back in.
Yeah. Okay.
So here's the beginning of it, right? So yeah, I mean the hit's fine, but then Phaneuf decides to basically try to put him through the ice a couple times.
It almost looked like he was going to kick him there for a second, and then when they finally got to fighting, it was a one-sided affair because Mihalik is not a fighter, and the criticism of Phaneuf is that he picks his spots, but 3 times in the last 4 games, you've had Phaneuf shot at by Joe Thornton. You've had Phaneuf hitting Jordan Stahl and then fighting Eric Stahl, and then Eric Stahl firing the puck at him. And now Phaneuf fights again, and he hasn't been somebody who's fought a ton of times. He's he really does pick his spots. But it's the thing is that people are picking up on an increased level of frustration on the part of Phaneuf, and also the fact that the team really isn't standing up for him, and supporting him. Nobody came to his aid.
Yeah, there's nobody else in this picture, which is really pretty interesting. There's no one. There's not. You keep waiting for a player for either team to enter into the fray here. I mean, I know that, and neither. Neither. It's a little. Kicking is an interesting thing. Russ, did you see the other night where Ray Emery tried to kick the guy twice in front of the goal?
I don't know if he really did kick him. I think his skate got caught in the netting. I know everybody wants to think he went to kick him, but I don't think he did.
Yeah, it looked like he kicked him to me. I mean, I wish I had highlighted it, but it looked like he tried to kick him with both of his feet. I mean, that's where the skate in the netting. Like he tries to kick him with his right foot and then tries to kick him with his left foot.
The stick was in between his legs, Zach. I mean, he looked like he was can openering him. So it's like, I thought it was more of that than anything.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. That's tough. Yeah. So this, I mean, I guess this, this, I kind of there's a couple things about the Phaneuf thing. One, I like the frustration on Phaneuf. Like, I actually think we need to see emotion from Phaneuf. Right. That's a captain thing to do. We need to see that. And if he's getting beat on a lot, that's good. Let's see more of that. That's my opinion. I don't think it's a dirty play. I like the fact that.
Heck, it wasn't reported, but someone squirted water at Malkin in the Flyers game. Somebody on the bench did it. I saw it, but they never showed it on TV because it was like in between the commercials.
Wow.
Stuff going on now.
There's a lot of stuff, and then the guy takes his helmet off in the fight, and that wasn't a penalty, right? Rest. I mean, there was a lot of stuff that was happening there in that game. I saw that too. I have a question now for you, Josh, because the other news we tried to talk about Bobrovsky getting hurt, and Columbus has been on they've cooled down for sure, and it just shows how freaking hard it is to get back in the playoffs, right? I mean, Columbus was playing unbelievably well for a while and not gaining any ground.
Yeah.
Apparently, it's like what's the point? All they were doing was separating themselves from the bottom of the pack. They weren't gaining ground on anybody.
Well, here's the interesting thing. Not only did they lose Bobrovsky, but they also lost Jeremy Morin. I know Morin's not, a big part of what the Blue Jackets have done, if you will, this year. Morin suffered an upper body injury during the contest. Now, as bad as the situation is, guys, the Jackets also got some positive news on the injury front recently. Ryan Murray, who's been out with a knee injury, and center Nisimov, who tore his tricep, might be back next week, and that's per the Columbus Dispatch. So they are getting 2 needed guys back in the lineup. Yes, Bobrovsky is important in the net. McElhaney's been playing pretty well this year as well. So, I mean, he's really stepped up his game the last few times they've played. But, yeah, Bobrovsky being hurt, no idea how long he's out for. That definitely hurts. But me, myself, I mean, I hate I'm a Jackets fan, obviously. I follow the team. You know what? For me, I'm kind of I'm not happy, but I think that gives them more of a chance to possibly get in the McEichel sweepstakes. And I think there's a good shot for the Jackets to maybe get one of those 2 guys, especially losing their all-star in Bobrovsky. I mean, just think about it. If this Jackets team can possibly get Connor McDavid or Jack Eichel, I mean, this team's going to be a dominant force in the near future. I mean, they're already showing what they can do from last year when they played the Penguins in the playoffs, but I think it'd be nice to add one of those 2 guys in the draft coming up.
Yeah. But it's only 20%. Like, everybody should get in on it, but then no one will be playing anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, that's the issue. And the percentages, you can't play those percentages. I wonder if there's going to be a move if they make a move for a goalie. That's my question to. Is it possible that they still think they can make the playoffs and they make a move?
Marty Brodeur?
No, I'm thinking more in terms of, a guy I know that they like, which is Anthony Niemi, and this name, it came up to me yesterday that, Niemi is a guy that the Blue Jackets, I mean, he's going to be a UFA, right? And he's not really the Sharks,
Yeah.
Kevin?
Niemi is, I think, would be a goalie that teams would be interested in, but I think Columbus is they're too far back. They're 13 or 14 points back. I think they're closer to the bottom than the playoffs. I don't think they really have a chance to get in the McEichel sweepstakes, but they've just fallen way too far behind to even entertain that. I mean, let's look now. Look at 1, 2, 3, 4 teams to climb over, in addition to being 13 points behind. That you're just not going to be able to make up that ground, and you're going to give up an asset to get a goalie at this point. I don't think is the way to go for them. So plus we don't even really have any idea how long
we don't.
Bobrovsky will be out. So
we don't. Bobrovsky tends to be out for a while when he's out. He's a tough player, and he does. I think he plays through a lot of stuff. So when he's out, I mean, people don't have any idea how tough of a guy Bobrovsky is. I mean, he's not. I mean, he's a workout machine. He's in incredible shape. When he goes down, he's down. You can guarantee it for a few weeks, several weeks. I mean, he's not going to miss any time if he'll play half energy. He doesn't always play well that way, but he will play that way.
They're 10 points out of the McEichel sweepstakes.
Yeah.
So they're 13 out of the playoffs and 10 out of.
All right, but taking rest for a second. I'm gonna disagree with all this because I'm kind of with Russ here. If you're Columbus, what you really need to do is not get into the McEichel sweepstakes because this is a team that last year built momentum and started turning in a positive direction. The worst thing this team could do is just bottom out right now and just go the opposite way. And whether or not you're going to get a star player or not, you've got enough good young players. If this team's healthy, they're a competitive team. They're a playoff team if they're healthy and competitive. Don't let everybody get used to losing for the next 3 months just for a shot at one of these guys. I mean, that's why I would go out and get Niemi. I would go out and sure, you might not make the playoffs, but at least it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if they went on a run and it was exciting and they were trying to make the playoffs. It would be, that to me would be way better for this organization moving forward. Than the other.
With the new lottery rules, I mean, honestly, right now, if you're 8th and you're between 9th and 6th, it's a 1% difference. So I mean, yes, they can stay where they are and still have a 6 or 7% chance of winning the lottery, and maybe kill 2 birds with one stone. They can play, try to play the way, try to win, try to not have to tear things down, and still have a chance in when the lottery is held after the season to win McDavid or Eichel, whoever they decide. But from a Toronto situation, that's what I think they need to get. I don't think anybody who is 10, 12, 13, 15 points ahead of Edmonton and Buffalo has a chance to catch those teams. But if you can get into that anywhere from 5 to 9 range, you have a good chance of getting that player. And if you don't, getting a good player in the draft like Dylan Strome or Mitch Marner or any of these young prospects that I'm going to be seeing tonight. So, this draft is really good. And teams who aren't going to make the playoffs, it's inherent upon their management to position those teams well to be able to draft a player. So then next year with this player, maybe they can turn things around quickly and make a run for the playoffs.
Yeah, it's as hard to get into the sweepstakes as it is the playoffs right now.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where it's sort of come to.
Yeah.
Right.
What's interesting to me about the Blue Jackets this season is, and I think, I've sort of alluded to this on other shows, but I find it so fascinating about all the discussion about all their injuries, and I think to me what it shows is what really strong organizations are, the Penguins and the Red Wings are, because last year both of those teams I think approached 500 man games lost with injuries, and nobody ever hardly talked about that. And the Blue Jackets, that's all we ever talk about, is how they've been beat up. And last year, at one point, and I remember this specifically, the Red Wings had 13 players from Grand Rapids They really did have the JV team up, and the Penguins were overrun by injuries. Same sort of deal, and yet both of those teams last year were playoff teams. I mean, what those two teams were able to do last season with all the injuries they had. I mean, we can see how devastating this has been on a very good Columbus team. So I guess when I watch this, I find it interesting that, it just reminded me how incredible it was last season that both the Penguins and the Red Wings were able to make the playoffs at all. Given what.
No, I agree, and that they're always.
I love this Blue Jackets team in the playoffs last year.
I loved it too, and I mean now our friends at McGeichel.com, who started the website just based on our thing, have the tank tracker going here. So we haven't checked it out for a little while. So here, call it McGeichel.com, which is I think a term that Mike actually coined. So they got the Buffalo Sabres at 20% still.
They're celebrating in the streets of Buffalo. Believe me.
Right, they've got the highest percentage right now, and they've got because what this measures is points lost. Okay, so the Sabres have lost 63 points, which is that's why they're winning this thing. Points lost. Edmonton at 61, Arizona at 55. Right now the Blue Jackets are at 7th. They're in 7th. So the percentages, like you say, it's not that much of a difference.
But they're not measuring the air current on the ping pong balls. They're not taking that into consideration.
Correct.
Are the ping pong balls frozen?
Yeah. And is Bill Belichick anywhere near them?
Right. Or the fact that if NHL had a brain in their head, they would fix this, but that's just my opinion. Anyway,
Brendan Shanahan's going to place a call to his good friend Gary and say, can we put those real cold ping pong balls in there just before it's selected?
It'll never happen, but you know what? When you think about this, so you're Bill Daly, and this would never happen because Bill is one of the most trustworthy and really great guys. But okay, you're Bill Daly, and you've been handed the results of the ping pong lottery, and you are told the Edmonton Oilers have gotten the first pick overall, and you're about to go out and announce it. That's got to be a gut check moment for you. It's just when you know that putting another one of these superstars into Edmonton, it's just, and this one being the biggest of them yet, right? That's got to be. That's all I'll say.
But I do want to say this. I saw that Yahoo put out an article saying that the Sabres aren't worthy of getting McDavid, and it was really sort of like a fan article, and I kind of wish those things wouldn't get posted even on a site like Yahoo, because at the end of the day, even though we might feel Edmonton's had all these picks and squandered them, we don't know. In 2 years, they could turn into a Stanley Cup team. So, in that regard, I don't ever slight whoever gets the pick because you just never know.
Yeah, that's very professional and very true. And I'm not being very professional in what I'm saying at all. But I agree that you shouldn't begrudge a team for losing that much. And
yeah, and also you got to take into consideration always. Not only do you have to be bad to get good players under the NHL system, you have to be bad at the right time.
Right?
Exactly. The Oilers, this is the year to be bad. To be a horrendous team. This is the best year to be the horrendous team in a while.
Right.
Since Crosby.
Right.
It was a good year to be bad. Well, that year you didn't have to be bad. It was just the lottery season. But
right.
Like the Oilers, none of those players are considered to be the franchise style of player. Even at the draft, Yakupov, everybody talked about. Nobody was saying he was a slam dunk.
Right.
And Hall was probably the most treasured of the picks.
And has turned into the best player of them.
Exactly. So, but Nugent Hopkins was a good pick, but no one said, well, he's Crosby or he's going to be the next Gretzky. Nobody was saying that. So, as much as we criticize the Oilers and say they got a lot of good players, but it's not. They didn't win 3 consecutive Connor McDavid sweepstakes.
Right, exactly. They didn't. That's true. Well, tonight, since we have Russ and we have Mike who's attending the game tonight, I wanted to talk about the CHL prospects game that's going on tonight. because Russ, as you guys know, is from Sportsology, is a writer for Hockey Buzz for the Rangers, and also does the Prospect Show on XM, which is, in my opinion, the best show on XM radio, and I'm really not just saying that. Honestly, it is. So, that being said, Russ, tell us exactly what's going to happen tonight, because you know exactly what's going to happen. So, sorry. And Russ, we lost you. That was a big setup for nothing.
There. Sorry.
Okay, got you. There you are. So the CHL Prospects game, everybody's in this game tonight, right? Is that correct? This is Connor McDavid and Eichel and everybody?
No, Eichel's not.
Right, no, this is just the CHL, right? So there's,
right.
Yes. Okay, that's a ridiculous thing for you to say.
Legit. Okay. Oh, guys. Yeah. You'll see some great talent, though. You'll see guys like Dylan Strome. You'll see Mitch Marner. You'll see Nick Merkley. You'll see McDavid. You'll see Provorov. Dylan Strome, I think, is going to make a big name for himself tonight because he plays in the shadow of Connor McDavid, but he's a terrific player. I think he's better than Ryan Strome. You're going to see there's always going to be a few players that you don't expect to have big games, and they do because they're adaptable players, and then their stock will move up in the draft too.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, was it? I think it was Button, who I really respect a lot, who said something like he believes Strome could actually rise up to the second in the draft, or he felt like he could challenge Eichel.
I think that's possible. They have similar traits. Strome doesn't play as aggressive as Eichel, but it doesn't mean he can't in the future. He's got a big frame. I think Eichel's vision's a little better, but it might be splitting hairs when it comes to a franchise and what their needs might be. I wouldn't be totally shocked. I think he's not off base at all.
Well, it's funny because, and I respect Craig Button as well, but the fact that before the World Junior, he said that Eichel was ahead of McDavid. So, I mean, right now, opinions on these guys are really fluctuating. That's one of the reasons why I want to see them in person, because I've seen a few games of Dylan Strome. I've seen some highlights. I've seen Mitch Marner's statistics. I haven't really seen him play a lot. But these are guys who are all projected to be anywhere from, I'd say, 3 or 4 to 7 or 8 in the first round, underneath McDavid or Eichel, after Hannafin, after Krause. These are the guys that the teams that aren't going to win the lottery are, teams like Philadelphia, Columbus, and Toronto may have a chance to draft, and I think they have the possibility of being impact players in a draft that is considered to be very good.
Russ, is there any chance that Hannafin could go 2?
I don't think so. I don't think he can go 2. I think Strome would go 2 before he does. There's been some nitpicking about Hannafin lately. I saw in some other prospect reports that they're putting Killington ahead of him now, and so we'll see. We'll see where that goes. I think ultimately that probably won't happen just based on his overall game and really what he could grow into. But I think Ivan Provorov is a defenseman who, if he weren't Russian, if he were Canadian, everybody would be applauding this guy. He's more than a point a game. He's out of the USHL. He played terrific in the World Juniors. Now, some people said, hey, I didn't really like his game in the World Juniors, but he was playing a role. He was a young guy on that team, and they asked him to play a role, and he did the role the right way. He didn't get to really show off much offense, but he showed how strong he is and strong with the puck and moving it up the ice. So I think, there's somebody who really could move up after this game, move into the top 10. Lawson Cruz is another guy who's been moving up a lot lately based off the Team Canada gold medal. So he's another one. But, yeah, I don't think any other defenseman will move ahead of Hannafin. I just don't. And then I really do think Hannafin's slotted third unless something bizarre happens via a trade, because there's a dumb trade could always be made.
Well, let me extend on Kevin's question. If Edmonton has the number 2 pick, and it's a question, say McDavid's the number 1, Edmonton has the number 2 pick, and instead of taking Eichel, they have so many forwards right now. Do you think there's a possibility they would take Hannafin instead of taking Eichel?
I think they would trade down because the optic would look horrible, and then they would take Hannafin. I think they would swap picks because I think they would just get killed in perpetuity otherwise.
Right. I agree.
Yeah, that's the issue, right? Is there ever a possibility that we can see a CHL versus a college hockey all-star game? I would love that. I think it would be so. I mean,
they hate each other.
They hate each other. They would never be able to put it together. Yeah, it's just that the people who run each league, they just don't like each other. Is that what you're saying?
They don't like each other. And it's going to get worse. When the NCAA finally can pay players a stipend, the CHL is going to be in a little bit of trouble then.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. I just would love to see it. I really, college hockey, I think, is reached the point where they could compete. I mean, I don't know. Could they compete, Russ, or no?
I think they would be able to compete. I think they would probably lose, but I think it would be an entertaining game. But Don Cherry would tell you otherwise.
Yeah. Right. That's for sure. So yeah, McDavid and the rest tonight, Mike. It's going to be fun. Definitely, we look forward to talking to you tomorrow about this. What you see and who you talk to. I think that what I love about this, and this must be great for your business, Russ, is that the fact that the World Juniors really has the fact that tournament's now covered on the NHL Network has totally opened up the prospect world to a much broader audience.
Yeah, it's amazing. When I started doing it like 12 years ago, you had to go. There was nothing on TV in the States. There was barely anything on the Internet. I was one of the few people putting anything on the Internet. And now the NHL Network covers most of it, and you could find most of it in other ways in other places. So it's great. So, yes, it opens it up more, which is always terrific. There's always a downside, whereas now everybody's a prospect expert, but that's okay.
Yeah, but on the internet, it works. It's like I'm lucky, but I'm lucky because I was one of the first rumor guys. If you're one of the first and you get a big enough head start, you're in good shape. That's the bottom line. The internet's a big mall. With that, and there's stores that sell like size 12 shoes, and if you're the best size 12 shoe store, you're in. That's the way the internet works. So yeah, and you guys have been so far ahead of this for such a long time. It's going to take. You guys are the Google of prospects. It's going to take a long time for someone to knock off Google. So that's my thinking. I mean, there's other great search engines, but that's the bottom line. What do you think, Kevin? Do you think a college versus CHL thing would ever happen?
No chance. No. I mean, there's just so much hatred. I remember writing a story. Must have been 5 or 6 years ago, and both sides just hated it. Because I was talking about the recruiting of players. College versus going to juniors, and everybody was unhappy just because they just despise each other so much in terms of, the colleges, the junior teams point out that they can provide college scholarships, and then the other side says, yeah, but they don't really provide, and it's just back and forth, and there's no peaceful coexistence or no hint that there could ever be peaceful coexistence.
Right.
And really, if you look at it logically, just in real life, that college is not for everybody. The same is true in the hockey world. College is certainly a great avenue for American players, and I think it helps them too. NHL teams like to have, some of them do anyway, like to have college players to allow them to develop longer. But it's not the perfect route for everyone. Some of them are don't want to go to school or not good students, and then the Canadian junior route is there for them. So
yeah,
it's great that we have both systems.
That's a really good point. All right, I wanted to do the rumor chart for the day. We didn't do any yesterday. We got some heat about that, but sorry guys, we had a really interesting discussion. The rumor chart for today, I picked these 3 players today. The rumor chart's on HockeyBuzz.com. Like I said before, it's just my opinion on where these guys would go. This isn't really necessary. It should be called X speculation chart probably, but that's more of what it is. But this is based on just a lot of conversations where the actual rumors will be in my blog, and we'll discuss the Kadri Evander Kane rumor in a second because that's a really fascinating one. But these 3 guys, Nail Yakupov to start with, I still have him in Edmonton, obviously, right now. All roads point to the fact the Oilers aren't going to do anything during the season at this point. But but at some point, the team I keep hearing that really has the most interest is the Islanders. And then Montreal goes up and down with Yakupov. A couple people I've talked to. What are your thoughts on Yakupov's long term Kevin in Edmonton?
I think there are teams that are intrigued with Yakupov, feeling that if they could get him out of Edmonton and get him with the right organization, that he could blossom. I don't think anyone believes that you're going to transform him into a 50-goal scorer, but everybody's looking for offense, and he's a highly skilled guy. But the problem is everybody that I've talked to about it all says the same thing, that if you want Yakupov, they're asking still a lot for him. It's not like they've discounted him. So, for that reason, I think probably 60% staying there seems about right. And, you can't blame the Oilers for saying, look, if we're going to trade this guy, we want a lot for him. We know where he was picked. So, he's a skilled guy.
Was there a chance he turns into Filatov? That's my thing. No, Russ?
No, he's better than that. I mean, he's got a tremendous shot. He has a really good work ethic. He's now playing defense when he really shouldn't even be asked to play as much defense as he is. He goes on another team. You put him on the top power play. And you have to be committed to making him a top 6 player. He will score 30 goals, 35 goals. With that shot on the power play, there's no question. It's just in Edmonton land, they've marginalized him to the point where I think he's just really needs that change scenery. So they were stung by Kavanagh, so I don't know if they'd go there. If I'm the Flyers, I'd offer him Sam Morin and this year's number 1, and I would walk away with Neil Yakupov if I could.
Yeah, I think you might be able to do it.
I think Montreal makes a lot of sense Galchenyuk is poised to be one of their top 2 centers, probably their future number 1 center. They played together in junior, and they played well together in junior. And not that really means a ton, but there's a connection there. There's a combo there. They work. Yeah,
that's definitely part of it. There is also a group of people that just think that they would adore him in Montreal. The interesting thing about Montreal that's always fascinating to me is that I don't think any team has more of an emotional aspect to things that they do. And when you talk to people within the actual decision making, they'll say things like, the fans love him, or the fans would love him. Well, you really hear that from other people when you talk to people on the team level. Usually you don't hear that. That's more of a marketing thing maybe or whatever, but the team level cares about that in Montreal, I find, more than any city.
And Montreal might have the right pieces as well, because they have a number of young defensemen like Nathan Beaulieu and Tenorti, and even if they want to go into the NHL ranks and maybe trade an Alexei Emelin or something like that in a deal to get Yakupov, I think it's workable. I mean,
definitely a defenseman, obviously, that they're looking for. That's for sure. And they're going to need a defenseman. Yuri Chlusti. Really interesting. Here's another Montreal guy, right? Another Montreal run. But this is a really fascinating player on many levels, because Chlusti has turned into quite the player over his career. It's had his ups and downs for sure, but turned into quite the player as this has gone on. Carolina, I don't think they're. I mean, I know they're trying to keep him there, but I don't think they're going to get it done. It sounds like to me that they're not. Kevin, have you heard anything about Yuri?
Yeah, I would say there's not even a 20% chance that he'll be there. He's going to be an interesting rental. I think the teams that are in contention, looking for scoring, are all going to be, interested. I'm not so sure I'd see him as a Brian Burke style of player, but everything else, makes some sense there. The Vancouver Canucks, we know, are looking for more goals, and they're looking for a top 6 forward, and that makes some sense. I might have them up a little bit just because of that. But I don't think, I think he's going to end up in the offseason, and this is just speculation on my part, but I could see him signing with someone like Arizona. I think he'll go to the highest bidder, Arizona's going to have to get some offense. I know they're going to be rebuilding there, but you still got to score some goals, and they're just so short on scoring that they may take a chance on him.
It would make sense.
Sorry.
He's done really well in Carolina, and it's a situation where, a low pressure situation. Some players don't perform well in that situation. He does. He actually has shown that he can. So he has the ability to self-motivate himself to a degree. I like that too. It makes some sense. I think
Vancouver is a place to slot him in. After seeing him the other night, they do need a little bit of offensive punch if they expect to do anything.
Yeah, Burke actually traded him in Toronto. Not that there was anything. He just didn't fit with Ron Wilson's scheme there. But the thing is, he's going to expect to make pretty good money, because I think he scored over 20 goals in the lockout shortened season. But he was playing first line with Eric Stahl, and I don't think he's a first line player. So that I think contributed to his offense. You know, he's more of a second, third line guy, and he's a good two-way player. But I could see St. Louis. That might make a bit of sense.
Yeah, it's definitely the kind of guy that Hitchcock likes to get at the trade deadline. Yeah, I'd like to add a skilled player. He doesn't want a skilled player on his team all year, but he'll take him for the last month of the season and in the playoffs. Sure. That'll help him out. And then finally, Vinny Lecavalier, who, you know, I'm still going to say that I am actually very much in Lecavier's corner. I think Lecavier's getting screwed on the Flyers right now. I think that although he isn't the Vinny Lecavalier that everybody remembers, he's still a very good player, and he's really not being treated like a good player in the you know, in my opinion. Russ, what are your thoughts on that one?
Good. I mean, he's really not a top 6 guy anymore. You could put him on the top power play. He moves around the puck, but he's not scoring at any kind of clip when they do put him on the power play. He's very slow. We've heard rumors of him practicing not at full speed and then sometimes at full speed. I mean, I got to tell you, I look at Vinny Lecavalier, I don't think there's a market for him. I think the window was there. There were things that happened, and now the window's not there.
Yeah. I mean, you very well might be right. I mean, it's you know, the two teams
I'm going to make the same point. You know, Florida is slipping away. Like the playoff positions are starting to settle in, and the Panthers are now 7 points out. You know, they're not going to take on his salary because of that, and the Predators are getting enough goals as well. I think he's stuck in Philadelphia. I don't think he's done enough that people are going to line up for his services.
Yeah.
Three more years at $4.5 million with his offensive production slipping. I mean, even if a team like Kevin was saying, like Arizona, who's looking for offense and looking for veteran guys, I mean, they're going to be challenged to reach the cap floor, but they're going to want the guys that they are getting to be able to still produce. And I don't know if Vinny Lecavalier can produce anymore as a top 6 forward. He's a declining asset, and it's going to be tough for Ron Hextall to move him.
I don't know. I mean, I it's funny because I've really come full circle. I was not a fan of the Lecavalier signing at all at the time it happened. I thought it was a mistake. And I still think it was a mistake. I still think obviously they signed him for too long and too much money. But it was a mistake made, you know, with the intention of him playing with Peter Laviolette. That's why he came to the Flyers. You know, and he'll tell you that flat out. You know, he was here for 3 games with Laviolette. You know, and so that's why I have Nashville on there. I know that Laviolette still likes him. I was in Nashville. I know that they still like him. There's still a possibility there. And honestly, when I watch Vinny play, he still does some things. And yeah, I know the practice stuff, and I'm sure he's a frustrated guy. And I know he's a star who's been marginalized now. And that, you know how stars who get marginalized start to feel. They start to really feel, you know, like they're not part of it. But to his credit, I mean, he's still the kind of guy who will make a couple plays every game to me that are like, wow, that was a good play. And it's just like that. There's something to his game. I think if you gave him some confidence, you put him back on the top, at least the top 3 lines. I mean, he plays the 4th line on the Philly Flyers, so at least the 3rd line role.
You look at Nashville's roster situation and cap situation, Nick. They have Victor Stahlberg making $3 million for 2 more years. If there was a want. Yeah, if there was a want for Nashville to get Lecavalier for a playoff run, it would probably have to include Stahlberg because not that the cap hits, they're not completely even, but they're close enough that Nashville can clear $3 million of a guy that they don't want anymore, and they could get a guy who they could use.
I agree with that, and I think Nashville made the mistake of getting Olli Jokinen over Vinny. I think they had the choice of Jokinen or Lecavalier.
I think.
Oh, Russ, we're losing a little bit. Sorry, Russ. We'll come back to Russ. Russ is in. Russ
if you got the right, you could get a team for big time prospects.
Yeah, possibly. Let's go. Josh, what do you have for news here?
Well, guys, a couple of things since we already went over some of it already. Nick Kypreos reporting yesterday a potential long-term deal on Kadri. Leafs in the ballpark of 5 years at $22.5 million, but it may not be enough to buy the UFA years.
Yeah.
It's pretty hard to believe based on what he's done so far in his career, but go ahead, continue.
Well, no, we should tie this into the Kane.
Yeah, I'll talk about the Evander. I mean, the Evander Kane for Kadri plus rumor that I put out last night came from a very good source, and I was surprised because here's Winnipeg winning games, right? And Evander Kane is he's been out of it, he's been hurt, he's been up and down.
Right.
I still heard that even though that's the case, that there is definitely, if Winnipeg gets the right offer, they will move Evander Kane, and I think that maybe this whole winning without him at times has shown that they can do that, perhaps. So even though Winnipeg's still a good team, I heard that one of the things that was proposed to me was two teams looking to move on with issues, like Kadri being one of them out of Toronto, Winnipeg needing to move. I don't know. That's that rumor. For what it's worth, you can take it with a grain of salt. But
I'll just say briefly, it was very interesting that the Kadri contract rumor came out the same day that you mentioned this, because
yep.
The Leafs balked at signing Kadri for over $5 million 2 years ago when he was trying to go for a bridge deal. He hasn't. He scored 20 goals last year. He's on pace to score about the same amount, 50 points this year. He's not worth $5 million. I don't think the Leafs organization thinks he's worth that kind of money.
Might be, but he hasn't earned it yet to be that.
Right.
So that's the hard thing to say.
This is right. This is a low ball offer. I think they're gauging what Kadri's representatives are looking for in terms of a deal, and if they come back with something $5.5 or $6 million, then I think this deal has a chance of happening maybe in the summer. I don't know if Winnipeg wants to mess with the industry right now. I'm
with you on that completely. Go ahead, Josh.
No All-Star break, guys, for Thomas Hertl. He's just been reassigned to Worcester. So for a guy that probably was looking forward to the break, the Sharks feel he needs to still get some more games in. I believe that they will bring him back after the All-Star game, and they just want him to play a little bit more because, let's be honest, Thomas Hertl hasn't had the year that he had last year.
No.
Taravainen got sent down the same way. They're going to do that with more players, too.
Yeah, they should.
The only other injury news I have to come up with, or have come up with here, and this has not been discussed yet, that's at least on our show, the Canucks defenseman Kevin Bieksa, who is out indefinitely with a hand injury requiring surgery. Now, some wonder if the Vancouver Canucks, since they are in a position, a playoff position right now, and a very good position that is, that possibly the Canucks are in the market for another defenseman with Bieksa being out long term.
They'd have to be, because he's such a big part of their defense.
I'll give you a name. Vancouver area native Cody Franzen. They've been interested in him before.
I don't know that, but they would have to. There's a lot of defensemen out there. For that, this trade deadline is not shy on defensemen. They can pick up.
I might go after like Nick Schultz over Cody Franzen, to be honest.
Yeah. Nick Schultz is an interesting story too. He's really been the Flyers' best defenseman all year. I mean, that doesn't say much on a team that's been terrible defensively, but let's throw it out there that he actually has been really that good.
I don't see Nick Schultz playing on the first power play. I think Cody Franzen would. So
yeah, no, that's for sure. Well, that's all the time we have for today. I really appreciate it.
I one other thing I wanted to.
Oh, then forget it. Josh, go ahead.
Well, a little OHL news, but with a little NHL flavor. Rob Ciccarelli, the brother of Dino Ciccarelli, today announced that himself and his other brother, Larry Ciccarelli, have entered into a purchase agreement with Darian Hatcher and David Legwan to transfer ownership of the Ontario Hockey League franchise. Now, the sale is subject to the approval of the Ontario Hockey League Board of Governors, but the Ciccarellis have owned the Sarnia Sting for quite some time, and found it interesting that one former, one current NHLer are looking at buying the organization.
Wow, let's just admit it. They've got one of the best uniforms in hockey. So the Sarnia Sting, you can definitely grab that.
Both of those players are Michigan natives, and of course Sarnia is right across the river.
Right. Okay. There you go. So there you have Sarnia. That'd be great. All right, guys. That is all the time we have for today. And we thank you so much, Kevin. I'm sure we won't be seeing you tomorrow because you'll be at the All-Star festivities, I imagine.
That's exactly right. So.
And yes, we'll talk to you on Monday about all of that, all the fun that's there. And but we'll be back again tomorrow with Ty Anderson. And Ryan, unfortunately, couldn't join us today. He'll be back next week. But Russ, thank you for jumping on today. It was really awesome, as always.
It was fun.
We really appreciate it. And remember, guys, without the buzz, it is just hockey. Talk to you soon.